another how to play video, and we're going to superheroes now, and we're going to start with Marvel Legendary, a very good deck building game in which it's all based on the Marvel universe, and you are effectively playing shield operatives, and you are out to recruit all the typical Marvel heroes that you know, anything from the with expansions included, anything from the Fantastic Four to the X-Men to the Avengers to other shield operatives like Black Widow and Nick Fury to various other vigilantes like the Punisher and Bishop and who else we got? Ghost Rider. You name it, there's tons of heroes in the base game alone, and when you get this expanded, it's just insane. But more on that another time. I'm going to just basically show you a few turns of the game and how to set it up, because most of what you need to know is in the setup of the game rather than how to play it, because playing this game is relatively straightforward, but people get a little bit overwhelmed by how to set it up, so I'm going to go through that now for you from the perspective of a two-player game. So first of all, each player will start off with a hand of shield cards. These are identical for each player. There will be 8 of the shield agents, which are these guys with the pistol, and 4 of these guys with the trooper name to them. Now, the relevant icons on the cards for these is, first of all, zeros. The bottom right symbol is how much it costs to recruit this card. Now, these are all 0 because they start the game with you, so they don't cost anything. The star symbol there, the star symbol there is basically how many recruit points you get by playing this card. You need recruit points in order to recruit the various heroes, so these are important for that reason. However, you also need to be able to fight adversaries, and that is what the claw mark there with the 1 means on the trooper. That means 1 fight value. You need to get equal to or more fight value than the villain you are fighting in order to beat them. So this is important for that as well. Now, with this hand, you first need to select your heroes that you are going to have in this game. So for a 2-player game, there are 5 heroes that we need to pick. Now, I'm going to just move these to the side, and I'm going to give you a little bonus thing here and show you how I store my legendary game. I'll bring that there. You will notice that everything is all filed with these nice little dividers. Now, these dividers do not come in the base game. I am going to warn you of that now. The base game comes with very basic dividers that look exactly the same as that symbol there. I don't know if I've got any in the box right now to show you. Probably not, because I think they're all in the other box. But they're just general dividers. These ones, however, if I get one out, hopefully I'll be able to, let me take this one at the top. Here we go. Here you go. One for Angel here. It shows all the special ability symbols. It shows portraits of the various cards that he has, and gives a nice clear symbol as to whether he's an X-Men or the X-Force or Avengers, that kind of thing. Now, these I found on BoardGameGeek. I don't know the name of the contributor to the top of my head, but if you look on BoardGameGeek for Marvel Legendary dividers, you will come across these, and I guarantee there's a little effort to print the whole lot out and laminate them like I've done, but trust me, as you can see, it looks really organised, really colourful, and it will help your setup time to no end. So, enough of that front. First, we need 5 heroes. I'm going to go for a very sort of Avengers style here. So I'm going to choose, first off, I'm going to choose my favourite one I've used so far out of the Avengers lot. Here we go. Whoop. Get him out. Get him. Get him to Papa. Get him to Papa. Nick Fury. I'm going to take him for starters. Then I'm going to take Black Widow, because, let's face it, this is Scarlett Johansson, and if you have watched any of the Marvel hero films where Scarlett Johansson features as Black Widow, if you have not seriously, if you do not like this character, then what is wrong with you? I want to know your name, and I want to know why you don't think that Black Widow is awesome. Let's face it, she just is. So I'm going to take her as well. But now I want some of the actual Avengers themselves. So I'm going to first find Captain America. I believe he has here. Here we go, Captain America. I am then going to find probably... I'm going to find my 2 other favourite Avengers in the list. First off, we have the Hulk, because let's face it, he's just awesome. You know, Hulk smash. He had the best moments in the Avengers film with regards to Loki and Thor. If you watch the film, you know exactly what I'm referring to, but I'm not going to spoil them for you here. And speaking of Avengers, I need one more Avenger, and I'm just trying to find him. He is somewhere near Iron Fist. Here we go, Iron Man. Possibly my favourite of the Avengers, actually. I like how Robert Downey Jr. has been playing a part. I think the Iron sort of Man suit is pretty cool. I like the idea that the guy uses intelligence to outwit his enemies rather than just brute force all the time. And he's just a really cool character. I like Iron Man. So there's my 5 heroes. Now, we also need to choose some villains, some henchmen, and a mastermind. Now, the mastermind, I'm going for the Avengers theme, and I'm choosing Loki. You take his cards, and you look at his abilities to see who he always leads. Here, he always leads the enemies of Asgard, so you know that one of your villain groups that you choose has to be the villains of Asgard. So he gets put on this space over here. We then need a scheme, which is basically the plot that the evil guys are doing in order to win the game. And it's recommended that you go with this one first, Unleash the Power of the Cosmic Cube. It's quite a simple one to follow, and it's a relatively straightforward setup. It will tell you how many scheme twist cards, which look exactly the same as this, are put into the deck, and what happens when each twist comes out. In this case, the first few twists, I just put the twist next to the scheme, but then eventually people start getting wounds, and then more wounds, and eventually evil just wins. So that's placed there in order to show that, and it said we needed 8 twists, so I'm going to find out where I put scheme twists in here. I believe here they are. As I said, they look identical, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put the rest back in the box. Keep the 8. We're going to need them in just a second. We need to find the villain and henchman groups now. Now, in the top corner of the board, there is a nice little chart that shows you what setup you need for each number of players. So trust me, it's easy enough to get into this, and it tells you all the steps very nicely in a little reference. Now, looking on there, we need 2 villain groups and 1 henchman group. Now, one of the villain groups has to be the enemies of Asgard, because Loki is leading. So we have the Destroyer, which was the massive sort of Titan thing from the Thor movie. We have the Frost Giant Clean, again, from the Thor movie. Yeah, but basically, these are all for reference, because after all, this is Loki, and it's talking about Asgard. So these are basically Thor's problem. Why don't we have him in the Heroes to Recruit? Well, he's on holiday. Or he's off somewhere with Natalie Portman. I don't know. But you can customise the game to how you feel like, so I don't have to stick entirely to the theme. And we need another villain group. Now, we can choose one at random, and I've got this expanded, so there's quite a few for me to choose from. But I think with 4 showing up, I think I'm going to stick to something that people are probably familiar with. I'm going to go with Spider Foes. Now, Spider-Man is going to get his own sort of personal expansion very soon. I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to get it. But you'll recognise things like Venom and the Lizard and Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin if you know anything about Spider-Man. So I'm going to choose them. We also need a henchman group. Now, henchmen are basically easier to beat villains in a sense. The villains have sort of special abilities and are generally quite hard. The henchmen are generally a bit more weaker. You can kill them off, but they're still a hassle to get rid of. So I'm going to find a henchman group, and it doesn't really matter which henchman I go for, but let's assume, I don't think Sentinels would work. I don't think like Mafia Goons would work. So let's go with something nice and easy. Let's go with Hand Ninjas. Just basically a bunch of ninjas that come along, probably like brainwashed by Loki to help ruin your day. So we got those. And we need bystanders. Now bystanders are just basically, in the base game anyway, they get improved in the expansions, but they're just generic bystanders. They're worth a victory point, and they get included in the deck as something for the villains to nick. It says we need 2 of these to be shuffled into the deck, so we're going to get these 2. Now I'll explain what I'm on about in a minute. Now, with everything that we need chosen, I can now take this box away and put it to one side. Now, first of all, we have to construct the villain deck. This means we have to take everything except for the mastermind cards and the scheme cards, except for the twists, of course, and shuffle them all into one deck. So I take the Scheme Twists, I take the Destruct. Now, normally you would do a really good shuffle with this deck, but I'm just going to show you it for quickness, like fairly easily shuffled. So we take those, we take the 2 bystanders it told us to take, we take Spider Foes, we take the Henchman group here, and I believe that is all. That is all we need for the villain deck. So you then take all of these and you shuffle them up as best you can. Now, yes, of course, you should do a really good shuffle of these before you play the game, but I'm just going to do a speedy shuffle here just to give you a slight idea of how they play, because otherwise, well, I'll run out of room in the video, to be honest, so that's never a good thing. So we're going to just stick with a few things for the time being. Okie dokie, so we've got it shuffled up to an extent now. So let's put the villain deck down here, where it tells us to. We now need to do the same thing with the hero cards. We take all the 5 heroes, so we have Iron Man, we have Captain America, we have Nick Fury, we have Black Widow, and we have the Hulk. And we shuffle all those up as well. All of these. Lovely shuffle, 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 shuffle. So again, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. There's a lot to dish out around. It's essentially like that. Okie doke. Shuffle a little bit more. Try and get it a little bit better shuffled than the average shuffle, because otherwise you'll just end up looking at the same cards everywhere and that will just be boring. So here we go. Boom. Each player starts with their basic shield deck, so I'm going to place these, for the time being I'm going to place them just in front of the table. You won't be able to see these in the camera footage at the moment, but we'll leave it at that. So the objective of the heroes is to kill Loki, to stop him effectively before the Scheme Twist that I mentioned over here comes into full fruition and everybody loses. Now, to beat up Loki, you have to beat him 4 times in combat. He has a fight value of 10, which means you have to play cards equal to 10 or more in order to actually beat him. Now, to beat him 4 times, he has these tactic cards behind him. This one is just to show who he leads and what his Master Strike does. I'll get into that later. Speaking of which, we need the Master Strikes. I almost forgot about those. Silly me. Let's find the Master Strikes. Master Strikes are important to this game. You cannot forget them under any circumstances. Here we go. Master Strikes. My bad. Let's get the villain deck and shuffle it up a little bit more just to sort that out. There we go. Now, Loki has 4 of these tactic cards. When you beat him, you will discard one of these tactic cards and put it in front of the player who did it, and it's worth this many victory points, which is represented by the little red symbol there, and it will have an ability that goes off every time you do it. Each one is different, usually involving something bad happening to the hero, although you do get some that are actually good, so they're not all bad. I mean, this one, defeat a villain in the city for free. That's all good. You've hampered the mastermind and you get a benefit for doing so. So now we have to begin, and like I say, you have to beat him 4 times whilst dealing with all the other villains as well. So we start off by populating the HQ. The HQ is this helicarrier here, which you'll recognise from any Marvel film with S.H.I.E.L.D. involved in it. We take the top 5 cards in the hero deck and we place them side by side here in the HQ. These are heroes that you can recruit during your turn. They each have a recruit cost at the bottom right. They each either have fight values or recruit points. You can imagine that the Hulk is much better at fighting than he is recruiting anybody. It will also have symbols at the top left to represent certain abilities that go off in conjunction with other cards. You're basically trying to make combos with the heroes to do the best in the game. Now the A means that he's an Avengers hero, and the green is a strength symbol, which is relevant for certain cards and villain abilities. So it's always good to note those. The special abilities they get, you will play the card and you will generally just get the recruit points and fight value that's on the card. However, If it has a secret ability there with a symbol, it means that if you have already played a card with that symbol already, you'll get that extra fight value as a bonus. So the Hulk is very good at comboing just lots of fight value and pummeling stuff. Gee, what a surprise. So we're off and ready to go. So to start with, we're going to start with player 1. First off, you have your deck shuffled. Again, there's a lot of shuffling. Lots and lots of shuffling. And he will have this deck in front of him and draw 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we go. And he will look at his hand. So as we can see, we have got, obviously this is only a basic hand to start with, so we've got 4 shield agents and 2 troopers. So we've got 4 recruit points at our disposal and 2 fight value. It's not very much, but obviously this is what you begin the game with, so you can only expect so much. You take the top card from the villain deck and reveal what it is. In this case, it is a villain. If it's a villain or a henchman, it goes in the first space of the city, which is the sewers. You've got the sewers, bank, rooftops, streets, and bridge. These are the 5 locations that you can fight these particular villains in. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. Just see if that will help you. There we go. Oop. Camera going a little wonky there. I do apologise. There we go. Hopefully that will make be a little bit more visible to you. So in here, like I say, we have the Frost Giant, who requires a 4 of fight value in order to beat, and he has a special ability which, I need to just come out so we can zoom in there. Fight. As soon as you fight this guy, each player reveals a particular style of hero. That symbol just basically is what, like the Avengers and the green strength symbol I mentioned earlier, it just appears on certain heroes. Each player must reveal one of those heroes or gains a wound. Escape, same effect. Now escape means if he gets out of the city. When more villains come on the board, it pushes the ones that are already there across the city until they get to the bridge and then eventually escape. If they escape, then their escape ability goes off and it usually punishes the heroes more. So these guys you actually want to kick their butt as soon as possible. But first of all, we have the first turn. Now 2 fight value is insufficient to kill the Frost Giant, so these 2 can't really do much. However, this player is thinking, I've got 4 recruit points, and I think I want to go for the Hulk. I want Hulky cards, so I'm going to spend recruit points to get that Hulk card here, which is a free recruitment cost. Now to do the recruiting, you simply just play the cards. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 recruit points worth, which means you get to add the Hulk to your deck. Now your deck will be in front of you face down. The Hulk card simply goes on top of the discard pile, which is what you've already played this turn. Once your turn is over, any cards in your hand that have been not used, such as these, are wasted and simply just go in the discard pile. And that ends your turn. Another hero card is placed out to replace the one that you've already just bought. That's a particularly juicy Hulk card right there. Costs 8 to recruit, but has a whopping 5+ fight value. And if I can just focus there a sec. Come on. There you go. If you've already played a strength symbol this turn, you get another 5 fight. So you can have 10 fight value with this card. It is good, but that's why it's expensive. Second player shuffles his deck, places it face down as before, and draws 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now he has gotten a little bit more slightly basic hand. He just drew 6 recruit agents and has no fight value. Draws the top card of the villain deck, and it is the Green Goblin. It is the villain just like the Frost Giant from before. Now the Frost Giant gets pushed along one space, and the Green Goblin takes the spot. However, there's more to him than that. He has an ability called Ambush. Let me show you that there. Come on. Apologies for the lack of a focus on this camera. It is a little bit irritating. There we go. Ambush. Green Goblin captures a bystander. Now, bystanders are in this separate deck here, and some of them are put in the villain deck, but most of them just hang around on this side. So you take a bystander and you place it underneath the Green Goblin. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit more. Zoom out. So you can get an impression of that. There's the bystander deck there, and he captures one. If you kill a villain when he's holding a bystander, it's worth an extra victory point. However, if a villain should escape the board with a bystander in hand, you will be forced to discard cards because, after all, what kind of superhero lets a villain get away with innocent people? You have to take these guys out as well. So now who do you kill? Kill the guy with an escape effect, or kill the guy who's carrying a bystander? Well, that's your choice. You're the superhero, you've got to make the decision. So on his turn, he has 6 agents to spend on recruiting stuff, so he can buy multiple cards if he wants to. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to team up Nick Fury with Iron Man for his deck. So he spends all 6 of his recruit points and picks up these 2 cards here. A Nick Fury card and an Iron Man card, both of which have a recruit cost of 3. There's no limit to how many heroes or villains you can beat up or heroes you can recruit in a turn, as long as you can pay the cost. So they go on his discard pile, and that's it for him. Over. These guys refresh. And we move on to player 1 again. Draws the last 6 cards of his deck, and we have 3 recruit costs, I believe. 4 recruit costs and 2 fight value again. Top card of the villain deck is a scheme twist. Now, when the scheme twist is brought into play, you follow the instructions as per the scheme you are playing with. So we'd unleash the power of the cosmic cube. If I can just focus on that there, we have twist. Put the twist next to the scheme. So for the first 4 twists, nothing much really happens. But twists 5 to 6, 7 and 8 have extra abilities that go off. So this is just a ticking time bomb for now. We simply put it with it and leave it there. At least no more villains have come out, right? Unfortunately, with only 2 fight value, we're still not in a position to kick any hero's booty. So, sorry, that's the wrong hand. My apologies there. There's his hand. There we go. 2 of those and 4 of those. So he's just going to continue recruiting heroes. Now, a new Hulk one has turned up. That's worth 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Plays them. Takes the Hulk. Adds it to the discard pile. And these 2 are unfortunately wasted. Once you have gone through your entire deck, which because you start off with 12 cards and draw a hand of 6 each time, you will do so in 2 turns if you do the math. You simply take the deck you had, shuffle it, and place it face down again, and do the same thing. You rinse and repeat and recycle the deck constantly as you keep going through it and adding more cards. This is what the quintessential element of a deck building game is. You start off with a basic deck and then you make it better as the game goes on by adding more stuff to it. It's a cool little mechanic, and it's worked in things like Dominion and that for many years. This is now a co-op game using the same mechanic. So first place a card there, and we move on to player 2, who takes his last 6 cards. Here he has 4 fight value and 2 recruit. So first off, the top card of the villain deck, Master Strike. Oh dear, Loki giving 4 what for there. Now, when a Master Strike comes out, you take a look. This just gets discarded and stuck in the KO section, which is effectively stuff that's out of the game. But you take a look at Loki's ability. Now, Loki has a Master Strike ability, and so do all Masterminds, where it will basically say what happens when one of those cards comes out. It says that each player reveals a strength hero or gains a wound. Now, the problem we have here for player 2 is that he just has basic shield operatives, so he can't reveal anybody with a strength symbol. So he has to take a wound. Now, taking the wound means you take one of these wounds, which effectively you can only get rid of if you give up your turn, effectively, to just not recruit any heroes or defeat any villains. You can KO all the wounds on your hand, and KO means stick it out of the game in this box over here. So he has to take 1 wound and stick it on his discard pile. However, the player 1 might get lucky. He draws his hand of 6 cards at the end of his last turn, and he has some troopers, a recruitations. Oh, he has a Hulk. Does it have a symbol on it for the strength? Unfortunately not. It has a W symbol on it, which I think is like Wolverine's claw, effectively. So unfortunately, he has to take a wound as well. sucks to have wounds. Wounds basically clutter up your hand and deck. It's wastage. It's waste cards that you just don't want. So that was a Master Strike that's gone off with some pretty devastating effect there. However, we're about to fight back. So here we only have 2 recruit costs, and unfortunately nothing in the hero roll costs 2. We have 3, 4, 7, 6 and 8 for your reference. So 2 is not enough, so these 2 are going to be wasted. However, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 fight value worth of attack. And conveniently, the Frost Giant here has only 4 fight value to his name, so we can kill him. However, there's a catch. Focus, 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 focus. Each player must reveal one of those symbol heroes or gain a wound. Now, this is the problem. Do you fight him knowing that both of you are going to have to gain a wound as a result? Or do you leave him be? Personally, I'm going to go and beat him up anyway. So I'm going to play all my cards. On the discard pile they go. And I kill the Frost Giant. I put this in front of me to represent that I have 2 victory points as represented by the symbol there. Zoom in it. There we go. So that's my victory pile. But unfortunately, both of us have to gain a wound, which is another wound and another wound. We're going to have to start healing up at some point. This is getting quite painful to do. Now you're probably wondering, why is there a victory point symbol on all of these when this is a co-op game? Well, this is one thing that's, well, it's a little twist on the game, and I can take it or leave it, but it's up to you whether you like it or not. Essentially, yes, this is a co-op, and you are trying to defeat the Mastermind as a team. However, there is a victory condition for one of the heroes who has the most victory points in the game to win outright and basically get all the glory. Now, I don't mind this. I mean, it adds a little bit of a twist to the game, and also means that some heroes will slightly do each other over, you know, and I think that's thematic in a sense, because the heroes never always got along, did they? I mean, take the Avengers, for example. They spend half the film mostly, you know, mocking each other, you know, making fun or ridiculing, and it takes a while before they function as a proper team. So it makes sense in that regard, but some people don't like that and prefer to just do this as a full co-op. If you do, then fair enough. However, 1 or 2 heroes do slightly suffer as a result of that, being, I think, Ghost Rider and Deadpool for 2, I'll mention immediately. So I personally prefer to play with the victory point condition, but to be honest, if you win the game and beat the Mastermind, even if you don't get the most victory points, who cares? You beat the villain. That's the main thing, right? So the turns are going to continue in this way until one of 2 things happens. The scheme reaches its full conclusion with the 8 twists, or the heroes manage to beat the Mastermind 4 times and thus remove him from the game. But this is essentially how it goes. You're just going to keep buying heroes and playing fight cards to fight off the villains. These are going to replenish from turn to turn. You're going to keep drawing cards from this villain deck. So the next one, for example, would be a Frost Giant King villain. So fight value of 6, lots of stuff. Each player must reveal one of those types of heroes or gain a wound. Again, we'll be gaining more wounds. He would appear and push the green goblin on. Next card, Henchman Villain, goes out in the city. Frost Giant again, goes out in the city. Another Frost Giant. So effectively, this is how the game plays. You draw a villain card, you play your cards, you replenish the hero Heli Carrier as you go along, and that's essentially each turn. So as you can see, it's relatively simple to play. It just takes a bit of setup. But the turn order is written at the top right of the board over here, and the how to set up the game is written here in a nice little handy chart. So even if you don't have the rulebook to hand, that chart is more than enough to help set up the game. But I hope that my little introduction here to Marvel Legendary has given you an idea of how the game plays, what deck building is all about, and has helped you a little bit with regards to setting up the game, which is usually the bit that gets people a little bit mixed up every now and again. I mean, I even forgot the Master Strikes, so, you know, even I can make mistakes. But that's it for me. You've been listening to The Broken Meeple. I need to sign off now. So that's my how to play video for Marvel Legendary. Take care, and I'll see you next time.